Thank you. My name is Jorge Vanegas, and I have been an academic for 40 years. This is my 40th year in academia. Started out at Stanford, moved around to Purdue, Georgia Tech, and I am now at Texas A&M. As background, I am originally from Colombia, and I'm an architect from Universidad de los Andes. But then I shifted and added civil and environmental engineering and construction engineering to my degree portfolio. And that marked the beginning of what I'm going to share with you today. So for 40 years, I have been part of the academic research, teaching, and service to the industry. I've had the blessing of being involved with very big industry groups. I'm a child of Construction Industry Institute. They funded my graduate studies 40 years ago. My original research and dissertation were how do you get the knowledge and experience from construction into the early projects planning and design phase. And that was constructability. And then it was complemented by offsite prefabrication and assembly. So I was on a trajectory of just doing what all research in construction does. Construction for me is all about facilities and infrastructure that humanity needs to do whatever it is that we do. So when I arrived to Georgia Tech in 1993, we were very timely because I was 5 years after the Brundtland Commission. And lucky beginner's luck, GE funded a project which was a milestone, and you're going to see the results of that in what I'm going to share with you, that was on this thing called sustainable development, which engineers were not talking about at the time. The first one that talked about that was Hank Hatch, the one that was a commander of the Army Corps of Engineers in 1991 at a very large conference for engineers, calling them to do something about that. But the world of engineering did not really know about that. So we were blessed to get almost $1 million in 1993 to develop a curriculum to understand what this was, not on its own, but to infuse it into the next generation of engineers that were going to enter the industry. Long story short, it was a very successful project. I was able to match it through other grants, and it began the second strand of my career, and that was built environment sustainability in every aspect. So my two worlds collided, and they have now matured enough at Texas A&M, and it is the right place for me because, Alfred, I am going to tell you something that I have been preaching in multiple forums. The capital projects industry is the key to enable almost every single one of the other sustainable development goals of the United Nations. And I'll explain why. I have a slide where I show them in the circle in the earth. And I always go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. And at the end, somebody says, you skipped 9 and 11. I said, no, I did not. So I put those in the middle because they are the ones that enable. The problem with the construction industry has been, in my opinion, and the research that I have been involved with, they focus on nouns. They focus on the noun called a school building, a noun called a hospital building, a noun called a road, an airport. And that's what we have been studying forever. The 5 M's of methods, materials, manpower, money, and all of that has not made a dent. You've seen the report card of the infrastructure in the US. It's pathetic. A C- after, I don't know, 15 years of D+, it is inconceivable. And when you go to other countries, and I have had the pleasure of doing a lot of the North-South, I was president of the Pan American Academy of Engineering, and I know that I'm leading an effort that I'm going to share with you. I'm doing it already vertically. So here is the issue. You need to change it into verbs. It is not doing more schools. It's enabling education. It is not doing more pipes for underwater potable systems. It's about enabling clean water for health and all of these things. So in my visual, I'm a visual communicator and learner. You can imagine the globe of the world spinning, all the goals in there, and the synergies between them is another aspect that nobody talks about. Because if you continue doing each one of them independently, and I teach the Sustainable Development Goals at a freshman level in the university, I know that you can go to all the 140 whatever targets and goals, but they don't talk about how they connect with each other. And that is where the next part of my story comes in. There is a PhD student that I graduated from Georgia Tech called Dr. Stephen Mulva. And he was the director of the Construction Industry Institute for the last 7 years. And then prior to that, he had been working in benchmarking and metrics. And I was able to open the door at Texas A&M for him to move from where he was at UT Austin. And he has developed a concept called Accelerated Capital Project Formation Laboratory. What does that mean? The word formation doesn't connect with anybody, but you're going to connect with this visual image. You want to win the World Cup of soccer, you need to assemble a national team, right? And in assembling a national team, you pick the best of the best of the best and put them together. That's the first part of formation. You assemble the village that is going to be needed, and I'm using that on purpose, a village that's going to be needed to build any capital project, especially of a certain level of investment. So the first part of formation is assemble and fly. You assemble the best team and you infuse it with what is the problem with the industry. 40% of the industry, and this is backed by research, 40% of a capital project is wasted. It doesn't go into the capital project. It goes into contingencies, redundancies, conflicts, all kinds of things, lack of trust, risk management, you name it. And that's why you have your industry of sureties, right? Because everybody wants to protect themselves and everybody wants to shift the blame. So I have asked Dixon this very quickly. If we're successful with formation, are you going to destroy the surety industry? Because if everybody really works together like they should, and projects get done with the talent that it should, why would you need a surety industry? So Dixon has enlightened me on an industry that I confess I don't know that much. And they became one of the ones that I say, wow, that's a missing piece, because I don't know many people that are doing research in sureties for construction because they don't fit the profile of what construction research is all about. So first part, assemble and fly. The second one is once you fly, the image that comes to mind are the Blue Angels. These are, jets that are going full blast in formation without crashing or interfering with each other. So the second part of formation is form and fly. Assemble and form so that you can form and fly. So the essence of what we're doing with that project, and the laboratory is gaining steam as we speak, is the following. Wrapped in all of this, the two elements that we are putting together are a really structured collaboratory. That's a term the National Science Foundation has funded in the past, but normally it's for certain parts of scientists that come together. But again, they miss a big picture. So the collaboratory is one asset. And today, what Dixon has been preaching for a long time, the digital ecosystem that you need to provide those people in the collaboratory to do something that changes the world, is the cyber infrastructure. And we don't need to reinvent or redo any of that. It's assembling all the pieces that are already there. But then the third piece is what we are seeing, artificial intelligence and all these things, disrupt the industry. And that is, there is no observatory that actually focuses on what can you do at the intersection of all these goals, at the synergies between these goals, the interdependencies and interrelationships. So with that, what we're trying to do, and actually it is now beyond trying, is to understand that, and the second part is, I forgot to say, I'm director of our Institute for Sustainable Communities. I made a choice to not work on the big picture of the goals. I'm working from the inside of communities out. For 16 years, I was leading the Colonias program along the border with Mexico here in Texas. And all the communities that I know in Latin America, and I have been to the Middle East, I have been to basically very poor parts. The unit that we need to change is that, because even a big city is nothing more than a quilt of communities. So the essence of formation is the following. Number one, we are creating a new exchange for the marketplace. This is a new organizational model that is based on trust and positive force for change for the capital projects industry. We're trying to create a critical mass where each participant types and manages reputation, regulations, all of that. The focus is on market performance improvement through major initiatives, not just the improvement of productivity or safety or anything, but major changes. And the whole issue that trust cannot go into a team like that without accountability for managing and governing on behalf of all the members of that team that was assembled. And the idea is to really operate like an ecosystem that is enduring, that is sustainable, not necessarily just green, 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 but sustainable on the long term, and with shared liability. So that's pillar number one. The second pillar is the fact that in this marketplace, you're not going to work it without a digital platform. So we're looking about a platform that actually optimally arranges the stakeholders. It flattens the capital project supply chain. Right now, you have a very broad base and you keep on going up until the owners, and that's what adds to the transactional waste. So we're going to flatten that, disaggregate contractual responsibilities, and a very important part, and that's why I use the word collaboratory, it's about a high degree of collaboration that is promoting and leveraging long-term trusting relationships. It sounds like being on top of a soapbox, but it's not. I have worked with many organizations, CII, FIATEC, ECC, CURT, AGC, ABC, and that's part of the problem. There are too many of them. They're silos. And one thing that I think that you guys can understand is the whole idea that the digital platform has to enable several things. It's like the ultimate universal translator because everybody speaks a different language. The design language is different to the construction language, to the supply chain, procurement, and everything is like that. And the second one is the whole idea of verification and validation performance along the way. So yes, this digital platform is a key complement to the changing of the marketplace. And there are enabling technologies today for everything. You streamline data flows, and that's why I'm a student of XBRL that Dixon keeps enlightening me. Transparent business transactions, I think that we all want that. And how about rapid, shared, single source of the truth? With blockchain and all these other things that are happening, we are now at a time where we can actually make things happen. We need to reduce overhead costs. And again, a lot of what we have is just wasted. So part of the digital platform is to actually enable advanced commercial and risk models, different risk pooling, different monetization solutions. You need to also reduce that. But in a nutshell, the digital platform combined with a new marketplace end up complemented. And that's why you need the investment, not so much for correcting where we are, but to pave the way to the future. So the third pillar of this is a deep innovation within applied research. And that's why I'm at Texas A&M. Texas A&M has a designation of land grant, sea grant, and space grant institution. That means that all the research in any discipline or whatever, by the way that it was conceived, has to go and serve the needs of people and the population. And we have a map of research that is a tremendous portfolio. And right now we're working on several initiatives, and I could talk for hours, but I'm not going to talk anymore. all I'm going to do is tantalize you with the opportunity of creating an ecosystem that connects any silo that you want with other one through the simple concepts of windows to see what each one is doing. And I'm talking digital windows to see what each one is doing, digital doors that allow you to get from one silo and go to another one and go into it, digital bridges to connect executive level with middle management with lower level, stairs to progress within the silos, and then you have the tunnels to provide privacy when it is merited for people that collaborate with silos without having to say everything in an ethical, moral, and completely correct way. What you do when you connect the silos is you're liberating the value that right now is kept prisoner by the way that we do things in the areas of interdependencies, interrelationships, synergies, and identifying the opposite of synergies, which is dysergies, and the whole idea of how can we start changing just the focus on lowering CapEx, lowering OpEx, and return on investment. And my closing comment is that, yes, you will always need those three, but there are two other returns that we're not capitalizing. And what we're trying to do with formation and all this thing that I just told you is return on impact. How are we really impacting? Impacting people, impacting economies, impacting health, impacting everything. So it's a very different paradigm. I had a chance to see what I would call the big project of NEOM. I had a chance to see it from the inside out. I was part of the High Council that developed some of those strategy things. And whatever people think about that, for me, it was a schooling on how could we actually dream about creating something from scratch. And that is my dream at a community level, supported by the Institute of Sustainable Communities with everything that's going on with Formation Lab. And with that, the last ROI is return on influence. We live in a society right now in which a TikToker can influence a whole generation of kids today. And I just want to take my hair out that I still have, because it's inconceivable that construction, the capital projects industry can become a beacon of influence in every other sector that you want, because every other sector requires what we offer in our capital projects industry. And since we are talking to the surety industry, you don't have capital projects unless you start with a bonding and everything that you do ahead of time. And that's why I am sharing with you what you can probably realize is my passion for my sunset years. That's it.
Well, Jorge, thank you.